We'll look.
Now, from the #1 news team in Atlanta, Canada, this is ATV News 1 with Bill McKay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yep, it was an historic Canadian election, and the political map has totally changed overnight. The Liberals swept to power with 178 seats. A party that did not exist at the time of the last election, the Bloc Québécois, has enough seats to form the official opposition with 54. The Reform Party, which had 1 seat at dissolution, took 52. The NDP lost official party status, taking only 8 seats, while the once dominant Progressive Conservatives were literally crushed, with only 2 seats remaining. 1 independent member was elected in Quebec. Our region is Liberal red today. The only spot of blue is in New Brunswick, where St. John Mayor Elsie Wayne won for the Tories. ATV's Alex Bass joins us now in Moncton. Alex, was this a surprise?
No, not at all, Bill. The Liberals were expecting this win. In fact, most Canadians and Maritimers were. And the ATV Omnifax poll last week suggested that the Liberals would win a majority government, so that has come true. The real surprise of the night, however, was the margin of victories won by the Liberal candidates. The Liberal giant killer in the Maritimes is Perrette Ringette Mallet in the New Brunswick riding of Madawaska, Victoria. She defeated Bernard Valcourt, the Human Resources Minister in the Campbell government.
I feel on top of the world, and so should the people of Madawaska, Victoria, because they're on the winning side there with Jet.
Harold Colbert, Andy Scott, Paul Zed also took New Brunswick seats away from the Tories. Fernand Robichaud, Charles Hubbard, Guy Arsenault, Doug Young held on to Liberal seats, including George Rideout in Moncton.
In some senses, it's nice to be in opposition. Now we're going to have to do something.
We will work very well together, Kim, and we'll work hard for our people.
The only speck of blue here in the Maritimes is situated in the city of St. John, New Brunswick, where the local popularity of Mayor Elsie Wayne was enough to keep the Liberals from making a clean sweep in the region.
They were very supportive of our position on and the way that we have done things in the past here in St. John, and they look forward to that in the future.
Voters on Prince Edward Island returned 4 Liberals to Parliament. George Proud successfully held off a comeback to politics by Tom McMillan in Charlottetown.
And I said long ago, for the things that have happened in this country in the last 9 years, the people were just waiting to get a shot at the governing party.
In Nova Scotia, even longtime Conservative Pat Nowlin, who ran this time as an independent, was overrun in the Liberal landslide, losing his Annapolis Valley Hants seat.
I frankly felt the Liberal campaign go flat as a pancake after John Savage's budget. I didn't see much evidence of the Liberals after that.
Cape Bretoners went solid red with David Dingwell, Francis LeBlanc, and Russell McClellan all re-elected. Across mainland Nova Scotia, Roseanne Scope, Diane Brochette, Jeff Regan, Derek Wells, and Harry Varon all won, including Halifax's Mary Clancy.
Okay.
Today, of course, Liberals are savoring their victory, but now many are looking ahead to cabinet posts. Jean Chrétien has a tough job ahead. He has 24 Liberals here in the Maritimes that he can pick from. Bill?
All right, Alex, thank you very much. ATV's Alex Vass reporting today in Moncton. Many Atlantic Canadians went to bed before the final results of last night's election were known. This morning, people were trying to come to terms with a Liberal majority larger than anyone expected and a resounding defeat of the ruling Tories. There's also a lot of concern about the opposition.
Pretty surprises me that the Liberals got a majority government. I figured the PCs might have got in as a minority. They got really blown away, and that really did surprise me. I didn't expect that at all.
It didn't surprise me that the Liberals won. I'm glad. I think everybody needed the change. I guess I wasn't surprised at all.
The Liberals got more of a majority than I would have expected them to get. They got a sizable majority, but yeah, I would be concerned about the fact that the official opposition is the Bloc. That's a regional party, and it's not a national party.
Even though the Liberals won almost every seat in the region, they did it with about 55% of the popular vote. So every second person voted for someone other than the winner. Premier Frank McKenna says having a majority Liberal government committed to job creation and infrastructure is good news for his province. However, McKenna says he has no idea what level of funding to expect from his federal counterparts for those things.
So very early on, we would like to move a lot of those issues forward on the national agenda. Principally, they concern job creation, trying to get some major projects going that we've been working on for some time, and specifically highway infrastructure.
McKenna believes a change in government brings a new sense of hope to the country. New Brunswick Conservative leader Dennis Cochrane says every effort should be put forward to prevent the Bloc Québécois from becoming the official opposition in Ottawa. Cochrane saying the federal Tories would be doing Canada a favor if they formed an alliance with the Reform Party. Prime Minister-designate Jean Chrétien has already begun his duties, taking a phone call this morning from President Clinton. Chrétien toured his campaign headquarters in Shawinigan before leaving for Ottawa. He told reporters he feels like Joe Carter must have felt in hitting the homer in the Blue Jays World Series clincher. ATV's Jonathan Freed has more.
The morning after the vote before, Canada's next Prime Minister comes to thank the campaign workers in his riding one last time.
I will do my best to be again a very good member of Parliament.
By now, everyone's used to the idea that Chrétien had managed to beat the Bloc. But last night, it was Liberal party time.
And the time has come to bring the nation together.
The Liberals' massive majority took many here by surprise. But the country's next head of government promised not to let that government go to his head.
And a majority government is not a blank check. A majority government is an opportunity. And I will work hard every day to earn your respect and your trust.
Despite the strong showing by the Bloc Québécois, Chrétien pledged to put Canada's constitutional debate on ice.
But our mandate is very clear. We have to concentrate all our efforts on the economy, to create jobs, to have economic growth, to give dignity to the workers who wants to work across this land.
By defeating the Bloc Québécois here, the voters of Saint-Maurice saved Chrétien the political humiliation of having to run again in a by-election. But as one Liberal put it here last night, if Chrétien doesn't perform well for his riding, then he shouldn't expect to get that support next time. In Shawinigan, Quebec, Jonathan Freed, ATV News.
It was the biggest upset of the election, the crushing defeat of the Conservative Party. Even Prime Minister Kim Campbell went down with the Tory ship. It was a humiliating blow for a party that headed into the election with 154 seats. It came out with only 2 and will lose official party status. Campbell says that should not spell an end to the Tories. But as ATV's Julie Rosenberg reports from Vancouver, she won't say whether the loss will mean an end to her future as party leader.
Gee, I'm glad I didn't sell my car.
Kim Campbell managed to keep her usual sense of humor. But she was clearly disappointed with her party's pounding in the polls and the loss of her own Vancouver seat to Liberal candidate Hetty Fry.
I think I'm still a little bit stunned. Tonight has been a setback, but October the 26th changes nothing in terms of the strength of our organization or the dedication of our people. The Conservative Party is an important force in Canadian society, and our day in the sun will come again. That I promise you.
Campbell says she accepts the verdict of Canadians and adds it's now time for the Tories to dedicate themselves to renewing the party.
And we have a responsibility to bind our wounds, to perhaps have a good snurf into a Kleenex, and to come back to continue to work together as we always have.
But whether Campbell will be part of that healing process isn't clear. Will she step down as party leader? All she and her organizers will say is she will meet with her caucus colleagues to discuss the future.
After all we've been through in the last 9 months, it's been such a huge team and party effort that it would be inappropriate for her, I think, not to talk to them, and that's going to take some time.
Still, with her party in ruins and her seat lost, the question that remains now is not will Kim Campbell resign as Tory leader, but when. In Vancouver, Julie Rosenberg, ATV News.
Well, the Battle of Quebec went to the Bloc Québécois. 54 BQ MPs will be heading to Parliament. That number stunned many political observers, some even predicting Quebec is now clearly on the road to separation. At a news conference just moments ago in his riding of Alma, Bouchard moved quickly to reassure Quebec's friend in English-speaking Canada. But the leader of the Bloc made it clear his party will pursue Quebec's interests and expand on the merits of sovereignty of Quebec. Yes, the BQ as official opposition. What does it mean for the Tories and New Democrats to have lost official status? The Bloc Québécois with 54 seats will likely form the official opposition. More now from Bill Rogers.
The biggest blow to the Conservative Party will come in the pocketbook. Without official party status, it loses access to a plush leader's office in the center block of the Parliament buildings and the leader's limousine. It also loses a once large research, equipment, and staff budget. As the government, that budget topped $1.3 million. The budget for the opposition Liberals in the last House was just over $1 million. The NDP, with 40 members, received $765,000 for office staff, research, and equipment. With just 8 members elected, Audrey McLaughlin loses the office and the budget. Both the NDP and the Conservatives also lose the pecking order in the daily question period. It's up to the common speaker, but the new opposition Bloc Québécois will get the lead-off questions, followed by the Reform Party, then questions from government members and other unofficial parties. Last night's election also raises the question of what happens to Stornoway, the official residence of the leader of the opposition. Lucien Bouchard says he won't be staying here. He'll stay put in his Hull apartment. And that raises the question of whether taxpayers will have to pick up the cost. Bill Rogers, Ottawa.
Coming up on ATV News 1, more regional news, and Hollywood loses a great actor when News 1 continues.
You've had some luck.
Yes, I've caught several of these, and some of this sea perch. What is the name that you give them?
Cunner. We call them...
No plea was entered this morning when Roger Romeo Melanson appeared in New Brunswick court. The 56-year-old Dieppe man faces charges in connection with the death of a 16-year-old girl 23 years ago. Melanson was arrested this month after police received a phone tip. He'll remain in custody until his next court appearance in January for a preliminary hearing. A provincial court judge has upheld charges of manslaughter and criminal negligence causing death against the former owners of the Westray coal mine and 2 of its managers. That means the charges against Curra Resources, Gerald Phillips, and Roger Parry will proceed through the courts. Similar charges were dismissed this summer when Judge Patrick Curran ruled they lacked specific detail. But today Judge Curran says the new charges are legally valid. In the meantime, lawyers for Curra and Phillips withdrew from the case, citing the company's receivership and excessive time demands. That does not bother the families, though.
I had to think we had to see this happen, yeah. And it came through today. So next week we'll be back at 1:30 and see what happens then. But by the sounds of it, there will be no lawyers present, so we'll have another delay. Oh.
Are you worried about that?
Not right now, no.
It's not known who will represent the accused when the matter returns to court next week. He's been called the perfect villain and the perfect gentleman. Vincent Price, star of stage and screen, has died of lung cancer at the age of 82. Price appeared in more than 100 films, but was perhaps best known for his villainous roles in horror movies. Sherry Sylvester looks back on his long and diverse career.
Vincent Price thrilled kids in 1958 with a simple kind of horror as the scientist in an experiment gone wrong.
Search for the truth is the most important work in the whole world and the most dangerous.
His family fortune came from the candy sold in the lobby. His father was president of the National Candy Company. His grandfather, a bit of a scientist himself, invented baking powder. Vincent Price studied art history at Yale. Art became his hobby, acting his profession.
No, my father was a very successful businessman, and I think he thought I was crazy, but I think he also thought that I was very serious about it. And fortunately, the first play that I got in was a huge hit, and that helps. You know, I was in the most distinguished play in New York, Victoria Regina, with Helen Hayes.
You've seen me use my whip.
His first motion picture contract was signed, his fate sealed in 1938.
Oh, it felt wonderful to have $40,000 a year guaranteed. Can you believe that was your salary then? That was a pretty good salary.
His more than 100 films varied in quality, but the actor is most closely associated with such thrillers as The Fly, The Raven, and The House of Wax.
To you, they are wax, but to me, they're creator.
80s audiences saw him sit at the same table as Bette Davis and Lillian Gish in The Whales of August, and heard his voice on Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Darkness falls across the land.
This is my voice, and my brother had it too. I think it's something to do with St. Louis, Missouri.
Through the years, he maintained his passion for cooking and for collecting art. He bought his first work at the age of 12.
I bought a Rembrandt etching for $37.50. Well, that's what they were in those days, but I had $5 down.
He has authored several art books, and his on-screen artistry has inspired such movie makers as Batman and Beetlejuice director Tim Burton. His first short was the story of a boy who loved the thrills of a simple scare. The tribute was called Vincent. Vincent Price was 82.
That story by Sherry Sylvester. Still ahead on ATV News 1, an expert's analysis of the federal election in a moment.
Think of the famous liberal tradition of building a Canada that will always have in mind social justice and economic prosperity.
Repair these, use
What happens when a viper sheds its skin? Presenting the new 300 horsepower V10 Dodge Ram. The first truck that lives up to the name, Pickup.
Kimberly Greenwell didn't believe following Weight Watchers would work. Nor did Roger Dacre. And they're just two of the millions of people we've taught to lose weight at Weight Watchers, eating delicious, everyday foods. And with our new menu plans, even people who love pasta or dessert can learn to lose weight.
Until November 13th, prepay for 12 weeks and get a gorgeous sweatshirt free. Do it.
Perhaps you've outgrown your starter home and would like something larger. Whatever your real estate needs, have the cream of the crop working for you. They're at RE/MAX, Canada's leading real estate organization.
Good neighbors aren't just neighbors. They're more like family, like Mrs. Johnson. I wonder sometimes what she's thinking about when she sits out on her porch. Sometimes I feel like my kids mean the world to her. She's a wonderful lady, and my kids love her. So when we got together enough Zellers Club Z points, we got her something that says we love her.
Club Z at Zellers, because the lowest price is the law every day.
Why would I shop anywhere else?
Well, democracy has spoken, sir. You've worked hard for it, and I wish you well.
Thanks.
That was independent Pat Nowlin, who represented Annapolis Valley Hants for 28 years, conceding to Liberal newcomer John Murphy last night. And that scene was repeated all across the region. The Liberals own 31 of the 32 seats in Atlantic Canada today. The only riding that defied the red tidal wave was in St. John, where popular Mayor Elsie Wayne hung on for the Tories. Former Newfoundland MP John Crosby blames part of the Tory election loss on the dismal campaign mounted by the party. He says it's time to rebuild from step one. Crosby says decisions made by the party and campaign organizers cost seats. One Maritimer who's seen lots of politicians come and go over the years is longtime political analyst and author Art Doyle. Mr. Doyle joins us now in Fredericton. Mr. Doyle, will the election of a Chrétien government be good for Atlantic Canada?
I think so. It doesn't hurt at all to have been the region that was a complete sweep for the Liberals last night, and I think that they're going to be have a very sympathetic ear in John Chrétien, simply because he is very conscious, I think, of the region's problems. He spent quite a bit of time here. He represented the the riding of Beauséjour here until this election, so that I think so.
Do you think Elsie Wayne had more power as a mayor of St. John than she will as a Conservative opposition member, one of only two?
Well, I think she will have had more power in St. John, but she's going to get a lot of national attention. She represents 50% of the Conservative caucus in Parliament, and I think that the attention, national attention, is going to focus on her and Jean Charest in a way that she probably didn't expect.
Now, Premier McKenna was saying this morning that he would like to see two cabinet ministers from New Brunswick. Mr. Chrétien has some tough choices to make here.
He sure does. In this province, there are two or three at least who I think are aspiring to get in the cabinet, who are well qualified to be in the cabinet, and if you're going to take, if Mr. Chrétien is limited to 5 or 6 from the Atlantic region, as he probably is if he wants to keep a reasonable sized cabinet, and he's got a couple in Nova Scotia that he's got to look at very carefully, and he certainly has Newfoundland and PEI who will be looking for representation. So to pick more than a couple out of this province would be quite a thing, or even a couple. And yet we have Doug Young, who clearly is qualified and would see himself as qualified to go in the cabinet. The new member, Paulette Maltais from Edmundston, is an Acadian, a Francophone. Jean Chrétien isn't going to have enough Francophones, perhaps, to put in his cabinet. He's certainly not going to get enough, I think, out of Quebec, and he's going to look at her and the fact that she's a woman as well, I think, very carefully.
Mr. Doyle, let's talk for a moment about the opposition. Do you think Jean Chrétien is the best man to deal with Lucien Bouchard, both being Quebecers?
Well, no, they have a very different view of the country, obviously. Jean Chrétien has taken quite a beating in his own province for being such a strong federalist. And so and I think he's going to have quite a challenge facing him with Bouchard, who, as we know, is quite the opposite and is going to be determined, I think, to prove that Canada doesn't work the way it is now.
Art, thank you for coming in today. Nice to hear your views. Art Doyle, political historian, commentator, and author in Fredericton, sorry. Straight ahead on News 1, Richard's weather forecast when we return.
Be part of the excitement. Diane Horner, Queen of Country Line Dance, releases a brand new video, Diane Horner's Country Line Dancing with Style. Learn the latest dance steps with a new attitude. Plus, check out Diane Horner's best-selling video, Country Hip Hop Dancing. In no time, Diane will have you dancing to the latest craze, jammin'. Look for both videos at your quality Country Line Dance Center. Also available, Country Line Dancing and more Country Line Dancing. Plus, on CD and cassette, Diane Horner's all-time Country Line Dancing favorites. In stores now.
Good neighbors aren't just neighbors. They're more like family, like Mrs. Johnson. I wonder sometimes what she's thinking about when she sits out on her porch. Sometimes I feel like my kids mean the world to her. She's a wonderful lady, and my kids love her. So when we got together enough Zellers Club Z points, we got her something that says we love her.
Club Z at Zellers, because the lowest price is the law every day.
Why would I shop anywhere else?
Introducing the new 1994 Acura Integra Sports Coupe and Sports Sedan. Not since Hot Wheels have cars been this fun. Track sold separately.
I saw it this morning. Great job.
Good morning.
beautiful fall day across the Maritimes, and here's Richard with all of the weather news.
Well, right now we got an area of high pressure dominating our weather patterns, but as in all the weather forecasts for the maritime regions, things do change. And by tomorrow evening, you're going to need umbrellas. You're going to have to hang on to them because it's going to be warm, wet, windy, wild, woolly, back to that kind of weather. We've been flip-flopping
Same
around.
as last week.
Yeah, and the week before that, as a matter of fact, we've had that type of weather. So it looks as though the weather patterns will be changing, but the next 24 hours call for some very, very nice weather out there. So if you want to go outside and enjoy some of the great weather, do it right now because it's going to be changing by tomorrow evening. Satellite picture shows how these systems are developing. One off to the north, northern areas of the Great Lakes, the other one coming up along the eastern seaboard. They're going to link up, hold hands as they move through the maritime regions. That trough of low pressure will be changing the weather patterns by tomorrow. You can see right now the area of high pressure right here over the maritime regions. We've got some cloud over the eastern sections of the map, but that's because of the northwesterly wind picking up some moisture, and for the most part it looks as though the area of high pressure will be holding up and ridging through the maritime regions right here from the central southern areas of the Great Lakes into the maritime regions for the next 24 hours. But by tomorrow at this time, we'll look at this disturbance starting to get a chance to move up into the maritime regions as it comes along the eastern seaboard. This disturbance is heading off to the northern areas of Quebec. Now, temperatures today will be on the cool side, anywhere between 5 and 7, 8, 9 degrees. It looks like the hot spot in the Maritimes for today will be the Halifax, Dartmouth area, South Shore, all the way around to Barrington Passage, Yarmouth, and Digby. Up to the north, temperature's not too bad either, although it was a chilly morning up there this morning. Tonight's temperatures, again, we're looking at clearing skies with a few cloudy periods here and there. The wind will gradually die down. It was a little on the breezy side this morning. Temperatures between -2 and +2 across the maritime region, so all areas can expect to see some frost. Tomorrow any morning, sunshine in the western sections of the Maritimes will be clouded over by the afternoon. Then by evening, we're looking at showers and wind moving through. Temperatures tomorrow much warmer than they are expected to be today, anywhere between 8 and 11 degrees, and 11 degrees all the way from the eastern sections of the map right down along the south shore of Nova Scotia. And as far as the systems go, well, we have sort of a triumvirate of fronts and these two low-pressure disturbances, the one we saw on the satellite map moving off into northern Quebec and the other one down the south along the eastern seaboard. Urban temperatures across Canada show a warming trend in through the western sections of the map and the southern areas of Quebec and into the Maritimes, but it looks as though the central areas of the map, 3 to 7 degrees, a little on the cool side. Mixed bag for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday, a bit of a washout, mild temperatures, and then for Friday and Saturday, some sunshine, some clouds, and scattered showers with warm temperatures. That's your forecast. Now back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Richard. Coming up tonight on Live at 5, the Phantom of Peppiswick. Legend has it a British soldier shot for desertion in 1835 still roams our maritime shores. It's another chilling Bill Jessam ghost story tonight at 5. And of course at 6, we'll wrap up what has proven to be an historical Canadian election tonight at 6. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Have a great day. See you here again tomorrow.
Make our family part of yours with Full House.
Tonight on ATV.